My name's Kelly Hutchinson, and I'm here to talk about what you can expect in the finals of the National iAwards competition and what are the next steps on your journey. Go through some key dates, talk about the categories and domains, explain a bit more about the judging process, and give you some tips and hints from judges, and also explain what the APICTA Awards are, which is your international opportunity, and then we'll have questions. So questions can be posed at any time throughout the session in the question function or within the chat area. Okay. So that's a picture of me, so you know who's talking to you. I'm executive judge of the iAwards, and I've been involved in the iAwards since 2008. So, of course, you know, when I spoke to you last on the 1st of July, and since then you've probably done some media releases and talked to your customers and your team and celebrated it. I think it's been really great to see how happy everybody's been to and share their news through social media. I think the best I've seen is one company made a cake with the iAwards logo on it and gave that to their developing team. So that was really cool, and somebody else had donuts, and other people have, done other activities. So having won at the state level means you are the best in your state in your category. Now you have the next opportunity really to go to that national stage. So the national finals are you presenting a face-to-face to a panel of industry experts. The judges come from a mix of business, government, academic backgrounds, and they have either domain expertise around the particular category, or they have general business and commercialisation expertise, and really they are really keen to hear about your innovation. They all contribute their time. They may judge for 1 or 2 days, so it's a considerable effort. We actually have a number of CIOs attending this year as judges as well, which is fantastic for us to have that end user purchaser perspective in reviewing what the innovations are being put forward this year. So once you've won at the national level or received a merit, you will have the opportunity possibly to go on to compete at the Asia Pacific region, and that makes the iAwards the only true international pathway from state to national to international ICT recognition. I'll talk more about that later. So the key dates, just reiterating, some of them have happened already. We're now doing the round 2 online briefing session, and we do encourage you to please make sure that you register your tickets for the gala dinner and also the masterclass and the VIP luncheon. Please confirm an RSVP to Kylie at admin@iawards.com.au before the 31st of July. We have to, prepare all the materials and make sure that we've got you in the right place, and we'll be able to support you through that. I also have a reminder that if you are looking to do the startup category, you must submit your nomination by Monday. That is because on Tuesday we will be sending out the final details. So we want to make sure that we've allocated you to a time on that Tuesday. So you will receive an email update. You will have received one this week. You'll receive one next week, which will be all the final details. Then we have the judging on the Monday and the Tuesday in Melbourne, and the process I'll run through a little bit later. And then on the 8th of August, we have the Australia 3.0 Forum, the Masterclass, the nominees VIP networking luncheon, and the gala dinner. So just explaining to you a bit about the networking luncheon. When you're actually in the judging process, it's relatively anonymous. You're not going to know who the judges are. They're not going to identify who they are. But, there might be a possible interest from them or yourself in being able to see making connections. We need to keep the probity of the judging neutral, and in such, we have created this event on that Thursday for you specifically to network and promote your innovation and your business. No business cards are to be handed out at the judging. That's what you reserve for your Thursday lunch, where you are actually there to speed network. We will have tables for lunch. We'll have an oration, the PC oration, and then we will also have a timed moment where you as nominees will swap seats and move around the room and network with a number of people. So you're not stuck next to one person who you might be in health and then they're in government and there's no interest there. Well, actually, if they're health and government, there probably should be interest there. But anyway, so get your business cards ready for that Thursday and for the networking around the awards presentation in the afternoon, and then also a course at the gala dinner. If you don't win, that's still fine, because you still have the opportunity and say, well, we won in the state, we were a finalist, and there can only be one winner and up to 2 merits, and there may be more people in your category, but it's still an opportunity for you to network and raise the profile of your business. So they are the key dates. This is the map of the iAwards domains, and what the domain structure exists is a number of categories within a domain that are related. So the development domain is looking at really in that development space. So the R&D before you commercialise. A new product is newly commercialised, a new category this year with the maximum. We've got the highest number of nominees being judged in this category over the 2 days. And then tools, which is about platforms and the real infrastructure of technology. The industry domain is really talking about those vertical sectors and vertical industries. Services domain is really more about that service delivery. Society domain is really about that impact. And then we have the student domain, which is looking at the future innovators. We do have 2 other categories that are looked at during this round in Melbourne, and that is the Startup Award and the Innovation Award, which I'll talk about in a second. So as I mentioned, the Pioneer categories, there are 2 that are included in round 2. The Inspiration Award is for eligible, it has to be an Australian headquartered company, and they all national winners can be put forward by their judging panel to be considered, and that's just so you've got to win your category to be considered in that category. For the Startup iAward, all national finalists are eligible to enter if they meet the criteria that have been articulated. So you will have received information about the startup category. If you're not sure, ask us. It's always best to ask. There are some key parameters around it. It's a very exciting category. It's one of the pioneer categories, and acknowledging that early opportunity there. So you're right, it is actually after January 2011. I copied the slide from last year. So yes, it is 2011. So the judging process, just to let you know, it is at KPMG in Melbourne in the CBD. It's at the old T&G building, which is on Collins Street, just near the corner of Russell Street, just near the Hyatt. There's lots of hotels around the area. We have accommodation available through the iAwards booking system, whether for the Crown or for other venues. Please make sure that you allow enough time for yourself to get there. Please make sure if you're flying in from interstate that you also really allow time. If you've got an early morning, or if you've got one of the morning sessions, I really encourage you to come the night before, just because you just want to make sure that you are there on time. We encourage you to come in half an hour beforehand. We don't really want people there for like 2 hours beforehand, because we've got so many people to work through over the day. But there is a judges lounge and there is a nominee lounge. I will be based in the judges lounge, and one of our team from the iAwards will be allocated into the nominee lounge, where you can have a tea or coffee, check out your slides, get everything ready, prepare, so you can literally pick up and walk straight down when you've been collected. So Kylie will be at the reception desk when you come, and she will guide you in the right direction. She'll also let you know about the videoing if you need videoing done. So the schedule for your actual session is you get 5 minutes set up. You will be in the judges lounge, and one of the judges will come and collect you. They'll walk in and say, hello, looking for Mary from X. So then you and your team will walk down. It's all on the one floor, but there can sometimes be a bit of a walk. You get 5 minutes to set up once you're in the room. You get 15 minutes to present. You get then 10 minutes of Q&A. And then you pack down 5 minutes, and then the judges have 10 minutes to review and assess and make their voting. So you know how you've nominated and submitted your application online? That's actually also the judging portal. So all of that material you submitted, that's still going to be available. That's where the judges scored you in round 1. It's where they're going to score you in round 2. So the judges will have their computer or a tablet or a laptop or an iPhone, a smartphone, a tablet, I don't know, any type of device that has web access, and they will be judging you. So they will be scoring you against the criteria. And so they're not there sitting there looking at their emails. They're not doing anything outside. They really are there actually making sure that they're scoring you live as they go through. There is Wi-Fi access, but if you are, to be honest, as with any technology, as anybody who's been to any webinars this year with me, technology doesn't always work. So if you have something that you want to have as a live demo, think about it. You've only got 15 minutes. You're going to find it very difficult. If you've got video, make sure it's actually on a USB or on your hard drive. Just try not to rely on the technology as such. And I know it's difficult when something is a SaaS project, but you might want to think about a short video that captures some of those actions that you're wanting to illustrate. So just be wary of that. So those are the times for the judging process. And little tip, if you're coming from interstate, especially South Australia, change your clock, change your watch. We had some people who came early and then thought they were too early and then realised they were too late. So just simple things like that. Just give yourself enough time to feel calm and prepared and collected, and put your best foot forward. Some teams like to wear their corporate outfits, especially in tech teams these days. We often have, branded polos and the like, whatever you feel most comfortable in presenting and putting the best foot forward for your organisation. Kylie just reminded me that not all rooms have audio capabilities, and so if you are going to do a video with audio, you must let us know as soon as possible so we can make those arrangements. But in the end, you being there individually presenting is the best message for your solution. So at the moment, you've, I hope, started preparing your presentation, preparing what you're going to talk about. You have to submit, you have to still relate to the material that you were submitted substantially in your original nomination, because that's what the judges assessed you on. You can't change the features or change what you're talking about necessarily, but you can highlight and focus on some areas if you felt that there was an area in your original written submission that you didn't pay enough attention to, and I'll go through the focus areas I think you need to look at. You do have that's what the point of the presentation is. So the I for iAwards is for innovation. It's been around for 19 years, so that predates any Apple iProducts. And so we really want you to highlight your innovation. And really, you should know what your innovation is. You should know it, be really well versed, so somebody can ask you and you can answer straight away. What's innovative about what we do? Now, innovation can be really a massive thing, or it can be something really nuanced and something quite unique in the way that you have addressed a problem for a client, or addressed a challenge for a business sector, or have applied an element of technology or your business logic and have come out with a solution or a tool that achieves something in a unique way. So that's really what you've got to really go back to the essence of what your project's about. So it is a challenge because you're going to be a mix between marketing and technology. Now, I know it's difficult. Marketers may not always understand the nuances of the technology, and technologists aren't necessarily the best people to communicate what the benefits are about their solution. So it is a challenge. I have master's degrees in both of them, which mean, and I'm using both left and right brain. So it makes sense to me, but I do appreciate that it is a challenge. So somebody's asked a question about how many people can come. We like to keep it around 3. Any more than that, it just gets a bit squishy, really. And it's also in a short period of time, 15 minutes. It's like short, but it's really long, and a lot of times. How many people can effectively be part of that presentation? But like 2 people together bouncing off the external facing, the innovation in regards to how it's meeting a need in the market, and then somebody who's there also, the technologist or the developer, who's really actually able to answer those types of questions. But also the business questions have to be addressed as well. So just think about who to be in the room, who to be part of the presentation. If somebody's there and they don't speak, why they're there. Give everybody a role, but don't try to stagger it to the point and have it too complex. And if you are going to have more than one person presenting, practice, right? Make sure you do practice it. So as I mentioned, you go back to your written entry. And look, I know with the number of people coming, sometimes you are a joint nominee with your client. And so, again, just work out what's the best way. The client will give a really compelling story about, we had this challenge in our business and we decided to approach this X company, and they come up with this fabulous solution and way to address our challenge. And then the company talks about, yes, it was great, and we were able to leverage our knowledge and experience in this field and apply it to this challenge. And that's where the innovation is. It's because we took it from mining and we've applied it to agriculture. It really could be anything. So, and a couple of other tips about your presentation is, we do have people from a lot of different areas, predominantly technology sector, but don't use unnecessary jargon or, the MBA speak, because you just sound like everybody else. I know I fall into it myself, but, just try and keep it real and relevant about what your solution is doing. And don't get mired in the detail. They care about the impact, not the features. So like we say, a picture tells 1,000 words. That really can help a lot. But if you talk about the details, I think maybe you might have seen in another presentation where I showed, there's the rack with all the Ethernet cables and everything else coming out. The technology is one of those devices in the rack, in the server rack. But actually, when they had a photograph of the incident control room for the emergency services, that was actually how it actually does. So I just had a question here about if you have lots of growth in many territories, is it important to focus on the Asia growth or your overall growth? We put in the comment about the Asia Pacific because it helps contextualize, and also think about your own. If you are just at a phase where you are just in Victoria, that you think you've got a solution that would actually help in other states, then talk about your business, because that's about the marketability of your product, okay, under that area. It's about marketability, market share, market potential, and that's going to be different for every business and every product in their business that's being put forward, because it depends where you're up to in your own business growth. So if you are currently saturating the Australian market and you've already started into Asia Pacific, fantastic. That's a great success story to hear about. Or if you are only started in Victoria, but you've just about to pen a deal with Queensland, tell us about it. that reflects your marketability and the potential that your innovation is going to bring change to other markets. Okay, so hopefully that answers you there. Particularly also, the judges have got an understanding of the sector you're in, and they may know of a product. I mean, I know it happens. You're developing it, you know it's unique, you're doing it, and in your state it is, but they've got an awareness and understanding of another state or another country where that product already exists and it's got more features or better price model or whatever it might be. Part of this process is actually being able to understand that as well. So that's what the judges are bringing in, their external understanding of the sector and what that market potential is. So hopefully that answers you there. It also fits into the APICTA Awards because this year they're being held in Hong Kong. And if you've got an idea that you think you want to actually grow into Asia, then this is a fantastic opportunity for you to leverage that. Nominees going over to Hong Kong in November will have a chance to meet, and we'll liaise with Austrade and help with some introductions as able. And it really is a good opportunity for you to explore what potential there might be. So we encourage you to think about, well, oh, okay, we've actually really only been ever thinking about doing it in our jurisdiction, but actually, you know what? There is actually a potential for this elsewhere. So this is all part of that evolution of your business, is supported through the iAwards program. So last bit here, I've said about your presentations, be visual. Pictures are really good because you know I've got a lot of words here on a screen, but that's because I'm presenting by webinar. You've got time to read and listen. Whereas if you're in the other one, you know, you really are actually presenting personally. So you can have an image on the screen and it will remind you what you want to talk about, but it'll engage the imagination of the judges, and then they will be open and listening to your story as opposed to reading the detail, if that makes sense. You know, you're going to have to do a balance between them all. So I mentioned before that, you know, we have a challenge about, you know, what type of information to present and how much to go into detail in which area and the like. And a couple of years ago, the iAwards chair, actually, Russell Yardley, he actually used this as a tool that he presented in one of the briefings we had you know, a number of years ago now. And I've included it because it's a really clever way to think about how to focus on what you're going to present in that 15 minutes and what is going to be your focus. So if you look at it here, we've got why, what, and how. You know, that's effectively what the criteria is covering, and that's really what you've got to answer. So the why, we cut the rectangle in half. You're looking at basically that top half to the right. So the majority of the time will be spent on why. Enough about what, and then a very little about how. We as technology developers and the like, we talk about how a lot. We talk about what a lot, you know. And unless there's something really innovative and unique about your application of code or an algorithm or a, you know, mathematical process, that's what your innovation is. Great, that's what you talk about. But predominantly you're going to be using standard tools, standard processes. There isn't really that much interesting. Yes, you've done agile, or yes, you've, you know, done open source, or yes, you've done this or that. Yes, it's a website with a database, but, you know, really in the end, if it's not that innovative in that space and that part of what you've done, don't spend your energy on it. Talk about why. Why is it innovative? Why have you done this solution? Why have you chosen to spend your energy in R&D in this space? Or why have you pursued this area of the market because you think that there's a real need? Then you talk about the what, which is, well, this was the problem we were solving. You know, we talk about entrepreneurship is about identifying when there is something missing, and then you've got to tell us, well, we identified why there was a need, and this is what we did, and this is a bit of how we did it and what the response was. So that just helps you have a bit of a framework about it, and particularly how you want to structure your information. Presentations, and I think I've posted on Facebook and social media. I've posted up a couple of suggestions about, things to think about when you're preparing presentations. It's not just about what's the slides. It's not just about the content. It's about your presentation style. You do need to use your most passionate, confident speakers. That may not be the CEO. That may not be the developer. So really be honest with your team and work out who is going to be the best person to put this forward. Because you do get points on the presentation. Also about how to make it compelling, and they're going to listen to a number of people, and I've said to focus on the why, the what, and the how, and now it's a matter of how am I going to put all that together. So there's many different ways to sell a story, and one of the ways is I've got two suggestions here that have come out of people who've been briefing people for a long time on this. Is one approach might be to scale it, to start and talk about either beginning or wrap up, the starting with the small, bigger, biggest. So thinking about it fits in very much with the the why, what, and how, but it really makes it flow. And then when you want to reiterate it back, you then do it in reverse order at the end. The world can now, the industry can now, the customer can now. Yep. So make the order begin and end with the strongest suit, whichever way you feel it flows naturally. That's one way to go about it. Another one is a story, and you do have to have, with a story, you do need a start and an end. You've got to close that loop. So, and a meaningful story with an example, and that will really hit the judges, And, as I mentioned before, it's about the market gap you're addressing. It's about your value proposition. But we recommend you don't say, our value proposition is this, and our market gap is, we've identified this market gap. So just try to think about being creative in the way you're telling that story, and making sure that you're illustrating the innovation that you're wanting for them to see, because we don't want to get to it. We don't want to get lost. We don't want to get your innovation lost in amongst all of this, And really, and the most important point is put yourself in the judge's shoes, and if they can really hear a strong story and a message about what pain point you are solving for your customers, because in the end, it's about innovation and business. Whether it's business or whether it's government or society or sustainability, because marketability or is different, or market share is different when you're looking at non-commercial returns on things. There is still an impact, whether that's a financial impact or a social return on that investment, or a community return on that investment. So, be careful and look at the criteria about your specific category and make sure you address it. So just some hints from the judges, and this is consistent, and people do ask me, how do you win? And can I have a look at some former winners? And I go, well, it's a bit tricky, because who wins one year is not who would win the next year, because you're competing against each other. And so some years it may be really, really tight, and other years it might be, as a sector, it just didn't really do much that year, and they're all pretty pedestrian. But in the end, it's still the people have to meet the criteria and be the best of the cohort that is being judged in the category. So judges, feedback is not ever going to be very useful, really, in as far as the general spiel is really this hints here to help you, get a bit of an understanding. So we do talk about really overall, you need to be clear and concise and answer the questions. And you need to stick to your time limit. I know it's hard, but that's why I recommend that you practice. And as I mentioned, criteria. You must demonstrate each of the specific criteria in your responses, because that's what they score against. You might do a brilliant presentation, but if you haven't addressed the issue of quality, you don't have to go into great detail of it. You can just, put up a slide and it shows we've done ISO, we have continuous improvement, we do this, we do that, we have the continuous feedback loop, blah, blah, whatever it might be that you've put in place for this. Make the job easier for the judges, because you answer every question, then they can score you against each of those items. The reference material, you did provide material when you submitted your nominations online. The judges have access to that material. You can bring in some product brochures or other materials, but they won't be allowed to keep it, and it may be a distraction. So really be careful. And also please note that no gifts are allowed. I know in some circumstances a presentation gift or something is customary, but we just make it clear that that's not allowed in the iAwards. We want to keep it as neutral as possible. As I mentioned before, pictures and photos, if they illustrate the solution, not as so much as, if you have a compelling use case scenario, that's great. Show us. And if it really articulates the challenge that you were addressing and what was unique about it, then use it. But if not, then don't. And the same thing with your screen grabs and your software, and the same with your software demos. That's tricky. You will have gone through this process in pitching for business. So think back to how have you been most successful, whether winning business or how have you had a great presentation and thought, aha, that was really effective. Then think what you can bring in from that experience of photos and materials that you may have used in the past. So those are the tips from the judges. Really important. You get an advantage this year that you've not had before. In the past, you may have had a paragraph about who the competitors were in your category. This year, you've actually got a video. So you'll actually know each other by the time you walk in the room. So when you were at the state awards, you all were interviewed. These videos have been up online, and we can see that there's a number of different categories and the different domains. So have a look and see who your competitors are. In the end, they may be competitors and neither of you will win, or one of you will win and one of you won't, but they might be a potential business partner because you are looking in the same type of area because of the category structure. So I encourage you to have a look at the other finalists in your category. So I mentioned that there's the Asia Pacific ICT Alliance, and that is an alliance of IT industry associations across Asia Pacific. And this year it's being hosted in Hong Kong. Last year was Brunei, the year before Thailand, Malaysia, and then it was Australia in 2009. It is a fantastic experience. It's exactly the same criteria and process, and same thing with the face-to-face judging. We can't do remote judging for APICTA. You have to attend in person, and it really is fantastic. And Australia's done very well. In previous years, you can see the winners on the iAwards website, and everybody who's gone has really found it an exciting experience. And particularly being in Hong Kong this year, I understand, say for Brunei and Thailand previously, people maybe not understood the potential in those markets. Hong Kong is of course a gateway to China, so I really do think that if you're even considering growing your business into Asia and you win or receive a merit, then you take up the opportunity to attend APICTA. Really, it's about that opportunity to grow your business, make connections, and APICTA, being an APICTA winner, will really help you with that. The criteria that we use in the iAwards in Australia is the same as we adhere to the criteria for the International Judging Committee, and I've been a representative on that over time. And there are a couple of categories that may not progress through to APICTA because we have slightly different structures. So the secondary and the tertiary undergraduate go through, but the postgraduate tertiary doesn't. But that postgraduate tertiary may be able to, because it's for an undergraduate degree, the postgraduate may be able to go under the R&D category. The new product category is new in Australia. We took it on from WAITA, which is the Western Australian Awards, and those nominees, winners, we may look to try and fit you into another category that fits within the verticals. But again, that's what I'll have fun doing the week after the iAwards, and we'll be in contact about that then. Okay, I'm going to stop talking for a moment and go to questions and see if there's anything else. Okay, so I've got a question about the Startup Award. They've got the nomination form and it asks for 2 referees, and it says, are you asking for different referees from the original submission? No, they can be the same referees, because, or if it's somebody who's more relevant to your startup, criteria and would help put a better case forward. It was important. The referees that were provided were all contacted for winners and randoms. I mean, it was a random sample, and we also made sure that everybody who was a state winner was contacted. And some of the referees didn't even know they were referees. They had a tenuous connection to the business, or they were a person in the business. So really, it has to be an independent person. So it's definitely not an investor. It needs to be a customer or somebody external to your organisation. And you need to brief them. So provide them a copy of your submission because you don't want to undermine yourself by not being prepared in that way. Somebody's asked a question about how much of a disadvantage is it not physically attending the judging, and has anyone ever won an award despite not physically attending the judging? Of course, it's preferable to be in attendance, but we also are aware that travelling and being down and then coming down for the dinner, it's a lot of time. So we are going to try this year to use this GoToWebinar so that we can actually have a bit more of a presentation and discussion. We're also saying if you would like to prepare your presentation as a video, and then we run the Q&A through this, that will be better. When it has just been the teleconference with the phone and the judges are looking at a PowerPoint, it is a lot harder. So we would like to. I know it's the IT industry, but technology is a challenge. As far as whether anybody who has won who didn't physically attend, in my memory, I can't remember anybody. I think maybe once from Northern Territory won in a category. And that was, it was regardless whether they were from the Northern Territory or not. It just, I think it was one of those, yes, it was one of those, it was a community category nominee, and they had an animated component to e-learning for Indigenous communities, Indigenous children. So it was an inspiring solution to a complex problem, and the judges, still voted and awarded them, and they won. Of course, they weren't there to pick up their award, but yeah. So you can do, and I think some people are doing a presentation remotely and then maybe attending the Thursday. And, I appreciate that might be something, startups and other businesses might have to do and make that decision. But we will do as much as we can to make sure that we've give you as good a option as possible. You cannot present remotely for a PICTA. You have to attend. So are there any other questions? As I mentioned, have a look at the criteria. Go back to the actual fact sheet about your category and your nomination form. I'm just seeing if I have. I'll just pull it up actually. So actually, from memory, there is basically some key areas in each of them that are consistent. They are slightly different depending what the category is. And as I mentioned, so underneath the iAwards website, you have the categories. I might pull up the industry domain. And you'll see here that we have a category information sheet. So I might go to the industrial category because it's quite a broad category. So in this, it basically gives you the overview that it recognises innovation that delivers improved outcomes in industrial processes or activity. So it explains what it is, shows you who last year's winner was, holding their award. You might be in that one. And then what we've done is actually give you a list of past winners in this particular category. This year, we've actually combined it to cover. We used to have a transport and logistics category separately, and we've included it into this. So in here, you'll see that there's the process and category overview. So it gives you, and some of these materials are going to be updated because, you know, technology's changed. But in the end, it's really about these criteria, the uniqueness, and here we have two other attributes broken down, the technologies and the innovation, and the trend setting. In marketability, you've got the market share and potential. And again, that was what I was mentioning earlier, that you have potential if you're early on and you've just launched it. And you then have, you know, or if you're more established. And also your marketability is about your business and financial model and strategy. So you've got to talk about why it's good business in the end. The functionality and features is the user requirements, again, that focus about the user. And then the compatibility, interoperability, and security of the features that are there, if that's part of it. The other area you'll be judged on is the quality of the application and technology, and that's about your content and standards and your stability and reliability. And again, you probably could present that in one slide with some key stats on different components, whatever you might have done. And then you've got your application, and that's about, you know, how you're organising your information and then how you've addressed the criteria. So that's where you can possibly pick up points if you don't do well in the other areas. So if you do an outstanding presentation but you didn't do very well in telling the judges about your quality, then you can, the judges can give you more points there. And in the Q&A session, what will happen is that the judges will actually ask you leading questions to get more information out of any of these areas that aren't there. So if they didn't feel that you addressed quality, then they would ask you, what have you done in quality? So make sure you've got you're aware that these are the areas they're going to talk to you about. They're going to come back to what is unique, what's your marketability, what are the features and functionalities, honestly, is where you're going to think to spend most of your time. But remember, it's only one part of it. And then you've got your quality in your application. So really that uniqueness and marketability are really important to make sure you address those. And as I said, they're slightly different to the different categories, so have a look at those different forms. Okay, so somebody's asked how many judges in each session. There are between 3 and 6 judges, up to 7 judges, depending the category. 3 is the minimum I have to have. We have a head judge and then you have panel judges. So the head judge's responsibility is to coordinate the team, facilitate the discussions and judging, and also come to the resolution of the results and verify them with myself as executive judge. There is also an associate judge per domain, which is a judge that's been judging for a number of years or a while and has a domain expertise across a couple of categories, and they will be going in and observing, but they may sit on some, they may not sit on others. So the maximum you would have would be 7, which I know could be terrifying. So could you imagine if we had 7 nominees, 7 judges, and then there's 5 nominees? I mean, yeah, I know we've got a couple of big rooms, but they're not that big. So that's the most we would have. And, you know, it's been very popular this year, and on average it'll be 4 or 5, and that should answer that. So the prizes are awarded on the category, not the domain. The domain is just there for us to be able to chunk it down to make it more manageable. There's nothing to say that in the future we may not do a domain award. And actually, when we've done the alignment with WAITA in Western Australia, that's effectively how they took that there was entries in every category, and the top score of the 4 categories in that domain, that became the WAITA winner. That's how we managed it this year, and that's all part of that alignment, that it meant that if somebody was a category winner in health and they also won the services category domain winner of WAITA, then they still just are only competing in one category, health. So that's how that works. Yes, there will be PowerPoints available, but I really would recommend that most people are running from a laptop. Make sure you charge up well. You've got the room, the nominees preparation room, where you can access power there to make sure you're fully charged. But to be honest, you're best to walk in and go by laptop with no cables, and make it easy. So the other question was, will the projector be able to display a presentation from a Mac? It will, but bring your own adapter. So as you know, I mean, I'm running on a Mac now. Every Mac has a slightly different connection. So the little white toggle there. Please bring your own to be able to attach to a VGA or a HDMI card, a cable. So make sure you bring your own if you think there's something unique about your connection. So that's some of the logistics type of questions, which is good to know because they're all those things that stress you out at the last minute. Okay. All right, so you can always still contact us, and Kylie's your point of contact for all your logistics, and she can be reached at the admin at iAwards.com.au. Any questions about judging or criteria or that type of thing, wanting to understand any of that, please contact myself, and you can just still contact me through Kylie, and then I will reply. I think I did have some contact with you when you were doing when we were looking for your referees. Sometimes people, I needed to get another referee, so I really appreciate those who helped with that because that helped you win. And somebody's asked how big is the room. We've obviously allocated larger rooms that we can to when we have more people judging and more people being assessed. They are effectively the floor is the KPMG corporate client floor. So it's very beautifully presented. They're basically glass walls with a privacy screen at that point in which you can't see into the room, if you know what I mean. And there is a screen, a projector, and table, and then chairs around the table. So the judges will sit, usually the setups that we've got is the door, then they've got the table, and the judges will sit at one end of the table or one side of the table, and then you will present from the other side or the other end. But they'll indicate to you where to stand in the room. Okay, so again, any other questions, please let us know. And just some final tips is we don't understand your business, right? It's your job to tell us about your business, and it's also important that you don't underestimate your business. You wouldn't have got this far if we didn't think there was something unique about what you're doing. Really stick to the outcomes, not the technology itself. We all know it's great technology because it's a technology awards, but I always say ICT is communicating information using technology. It's really simple, and sometimes we complicate it. So stick to those outcomes and not the technology. Utilize your passionate people to put forward the best story you can about your innovation. When somebody's passionate, it just conveys so much more. Make the most of the win. I think a number of you have so far, and it's been great to see. And I'm the one actually managing all the social media with iAwards at the moment. So do connect with me. And when I've seen that you've shared your excitement, and I've tried to support that. So this next 2 weeks, you are still the winner and still the finalist for this category. Maximise it now, right? Because if you don't win, you'll have lost that window of opportunity. You'll still be a state winner, but the biggest opportunity for you is now, in that time leading up to it. Build the excitement. Bring all your company, your board, your investors, your family, your clients, your competitors, bring them along with you on this journey as you prepare. And be creative about it, because that's the fun time. And posting something about we're working hard on the presentation or something. Bring that along with people. Bring other people along with you in your journey. And then if you win, then we really encourage you to leverage the win to grow your business, whether that's a new market, a new partner, a new investor, new staff, whatever it might be. Having that win and having that logo on your site, and for your team to know that, hey guys, we did a fantastic job, and that's been recognised. We do encourage you to bring your staff, bring your family along to the awards. There's, as I said, you've got your tickets, bookings by the 31st, and it's a great opportunity for you to just take time out to celebrate the work that you've done. And I've been involved for a number of years. I call it an addiction or a madness, I'm not sure. But it's because it's just so fantastic to hear the innovations that are coming out of Australian companies. So I mentioned here, share the good news, and have you put it out in your website, have you done a media release, all of that. You've still got time. And we encourage you to send out your YouTube video to everybody and say, have a look at it and vote for us. You know, so all of this wouldn't be possible without our partners, the AAAA, the PSC Foundation and the Australian Computer Society. And it's hosted in Victoria, my hometown, but it's wonderful from the support of the state government. And there are a number of other businesses that are involved in supporting it. So we do thank them. And we thank you for entering the iAwards, because there wouldn't be an iAwards if you didn't enter, and we wouldn't have any winners to judge if you weren't all coming to Melbourne next week. Oh, no, week after next. So good luck. And I look forward to seeing you all in Melbourne on Monday or Tuesday, the 5th and 6th of August. Thank you very much.